You are a neocon. You might fancy yourself to be a liberal, to be an intellectual, to be above that, but you are no different than a Christian fascist neocon.
If you don't support the Houthis, you are a Christian fascist neocon. Oh my God. Why would you lie like that? Like, at any point...
Is there more so we can't claim that you're clip chimping? I don't...
Like, does he really think I've ever...
It's not the fact that he's a music school dropout that makes him bad, or...
Do you threaten us with what we are waiting for, son of a Jew? Son of a Jew is a popular slang among Arabs. Jew in most Arabic dialect means stingy. It is racist and very stereotypical, but it's a word that completely lost its meaning, and most people have been using it blindly for decades without connecting it to the Jews. We've put literal war criminals on TV and asked them what they think about shit. But Hasan supports the guy. Why do you guys keep ignoring this? Hasan actually supports this guy.
أكيد يعني منذ الطفولة وأنا أشاهد ون بيس لوفي.
Anime is what's it called? I don't remember.
Is it Lofi?
Yeah, he said he's been watching it since he was a kid.
Oh, haram. Oh, and he has been watching it. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, he's been watching it since he's a kid? He looks like he's really young though, probably in his early 20s, so he's probably only halfway through.
Sick. Yes. Yes. That's fire. That's so fire. Oh my God. Dude, we think the Houthis, Ansar Allah, is doing what Luffy would do. You should tell him that.
God, he's so cringe. He's like such a cringe loser. I would pay we'd raise $1 million to send this dude to go fight in Yemen, and then all of us would volunteer for the Navy. Holy shit, he's such a cringe, LARPing loser. I cannot believe, like, nobody in the history, no fascist ever could have dreamed of such an amazing representation of socialism as the most anti-American, like, pro-Islamic terrorist, Turkish immigrant loser that is, like, cheering on attacks on merchant ships as this multi-millionaire guy living in West Hollywood. Like, it is the most unbelievably, hilariously stupid way to envision socialism and socialist advocacy. Like, this would be shit that you would make in like 1990. This is some shit you'd imagine. Like, oh, like, what are socialists in the future? Like, oh, I bet they're probably going to be some spoiled rich kid living in West Hollywood talking to Islamic terrorists that are cheering on terrorism, probably. I bet that's what they like. And you'd be like, Mom, shut the okay, socialists are real people. What you're describing is a caricature of a socialist. This wouldn't actually happen. Come the like, and here we are. Jesus Christ, my God. Okay. The brain rot and the cope on this shit, where people talk about me bringing on like Fuentes or Lauren Southern, is unbelievably retarded. Like, even if it was the case that I brought on Lauren and Nick together and all we did was play video games and had a jolly old time and like laughed and cheered with each other, even if I did that, it wouldn't be at the level of what Hasan did. In order to get to the level of what Hasan did, I would have to bring on Lauren and Nick, and I would have to cheer for white supremacists. That would be the equivalent thing. Nobody is mad because he's just talking to a dude. They're mad because he supports the Houthis, and now he's brought on somebody that at least went on a ship or whatever. I don't think the guy's an actual Houthi. Like, went on a ship, and he agrees with him. That's the issue. Notice how when people talk about me and like Lauren and Nick, they're always like, oh, he argued they shouldn't call him a Nazi. He argued that he shouldn't say these things about blah, blah, blah. Nobody's actually saying, oh, Destiny agrees with all their points. Destiny was cheering Lauren when she sailed into the Mediterranean and shot flares at ships. They're not saying that, right? But Hasan actually cheers the Houthi terrorists shooting missiles at boats, right? And he supports them. I don't know why they would draw the comparison between me having people on stream that I was debating all the time and explicitly said I didn't agree with all the time, that they would draw the comparison like what I'm doing is anywhere even remotely close to this level of suck, this level of terrorist glazing. It's like retarded. Hasan's video on the Houthis is terrible and full of lies. Effort post. Video in question, U.S. strikes Yemen.
Joe Biden, the U.S. president, is expected to make a statement tonight in the wake of the military strikes against Houthi targets in Yemen. The strikes are expected shortly with a series of carefully choreographed statements of the U.S., U.K., and other international allies to follow. That came right after Britain is expected to join in the U.S. in carrying airstrikes on Houthi military positions in Yemen tonight. America and Western forces are taking stronger action, once again, against the trade routes that the Houthi military has been able to stop, instead of course, doing anything about the ongoing atrocities, crimes against humanity in Gaza, because that's their ally. That's how it works. If you're looking for honesty, if you're looking for integrity, if you're looking for moral clarity in the situation, you will not find it. America operates on the boundaries of self-interest. That's it. It's that simple. Do not ever allow any of these liberal losers to come in here and try to muddy the waters and to talk about how progressive America is. If you have a situation where on the one hand you have genocide, on the other hand you have those who want to stop the genocide and are implementing a blockade at the behest of stopping that genocide. America is attacking the side that's trying to stop genocide. It's done. It's very obvious to me.
Yeah, I can't. Yemen, the Houthis are the side that's trying to stop genocide. That is the Houthis. It's literally just like America bad. That's it. That's all it is. It's America bad, right? I will say though, more wrong than Mr. Girl, more wrong than I was on Lav. Hasan is probably one of the people that I've gotten the most wrong. I always thought this guy was a grifter. I never thought that he was an actual hardcore subhuman tanky fuck. I never thought that. I truly did not know that. But I guess the recent arc has brought it out of him. So, Jesus. This video is full of disinformation, and I tried to go through the whole video. I only highlighted the flaws that I could easily find to be wrong, and if anyone who is more knowledgeable about the region's history is willing to go through it, I would be happy to edit it. Also, if I messed up somewhere, please tell me, I will correct it. I didn't go into too many of his statements about what is happening in Gaza and Israel, so it's just not worth the time. As I went on through the video, I lost motivation, so there will be less links and data in the later part of the post. Also, if he told the same lie again, I didn't bring it up in the later part of the video. Again, if I made some error, please tell me so I can correct it.
When it comes to the operations of Ansar Allah, they are pursuing their interests despite possible coordination with the strategic level with Iran. The ceasefire and high-level engagement of other parties and regional powers with Ansar Allah with respect to Yemen is viewed by Ansar Allah as the de facto recognition of their role as permanent players in Yemen. Post-ceasefire, Houthis are seeking recognition at a much bigger level by linking the siege in the Red Sea for Israeli vessels with the siege on Gaza by Israel. Ansar Allah have provided a political cove. This is one of the reasons why regional countries, especially the Muslim majority countries, are reluctant to be a part of any such operation, which in any ways is connected with Israel. This US-led coalition is dominated by extra-regional players because the Saudis, the UAE...
This is research time for Hasan. Gotcha, cool. I'm a loser who reads Wikipedia passages and books. News articles. Boring. Hasan, Twitter threads. This is the same shit I roasted him for over the Kamala Harris shit, because he refuses to educate himself on any topic, and the only thing he does is he reads through Twitter thread.
I'm talking about the idea that schools were referring children to ICE because they were undocumented is far different than the police department was taking people charged with felonies and referring them to ICE. That's two totally different things, right?
Arrested without a trial is the main point. There is, like I said, the main point I was hammering in is that the main point that I was hammering in that situation was, again, that it was a reversal of a previous procedure in which they did not do that.
Sure. I'm focusing on that, the start.
Are you upset at like my framing or something? Because I elaborate on it I elaborated on it immediately after.
Well, I understand the elaboration, but what I'm saying...
This might be an issue with the fact that I use a Twitter thread to which had gathered all of these ideas.
These are like the longest books that he can read are tweets.
Like all of the other regional actors that are a part of the pro-Israel, pro-America, anti-Gaza coalition know how popular these actions are in the region. This is something that I've stressed quite a bit. This is why I said Iran doesn't need any extra permission to be able to directly wage war with Israel at this point. That's important to understand because getting so much popular support from the actual populations of the region spell trouble domestically for all of these individual countries. Why does the US go so far for Israel? They're a huge liability at this point.
Wow, Aloe Reza, thanks for that 5 gifted subs.
Because it's our military base. What do you mean? Weird takes from an American? I'm sorry, what's the weird? Awful takes, as usual, brainwash. I love looking at a situation like this and being like, you know what this spells to me? America's definitely not bad. America's good at it.
You're criticizing his take on Yemen and the Houthis when you haven't learned anything about them. How are you proud of yourself? I mean, I'll hedge it a little bit. I guess it is conceivable that I might do some reading and research and actually come to the conclusion that the Houthis targeting civilian ships in the Gulf of Aden is good, but I'm gonna say probably not gonna happen. Probably not gonna happen.
Actually, if it wasn't America doing all this, if it was Russia, for example, or foreign adversary like China, you would be losing your mind. You'd be like, we have to nuke Beijing right now. That is what you would be saying. But when America's doing it, it's like, no, actually, you don't get it, dog. This is, I'm doing profound foreign policy analysis here. Okay, let me tell you. I somehow always magically find the exact triangulated position that America is good. Actually, they're trying their best. You see, some of the worst genocidal superpowers historically come together and start bombing Yemen, a country that they were, dishing out their regional actors to do a genocide in. Shortly after that genocide is ended, the blockade is.
A top 10 chess player in the world donated to him? Wait, what? Who? You're trolling me.
Is ended. And you're like, think the guys that were doing the genocide are the good guys here, I think, yeah. Genuine question, why does everyone...
If they were only targeting Israeli ships, would you support it? To support the people in Gaza? Yeah, sure. As long as we accept that it's okay for the United States to wipe everything that they're firing with off the face of the earth. Yeah, sure. That's a fair game.
Everyone complain about the supposed America is bad takes you have. Isn't there enough proof to show that they are bad? Yes, because they, you know the reason why people get very mad at that? Because liberals fancy themselves to be like intellectually superior to the dumb hogs that they want to desperately not identify with. But when it comes to foreign policy, if you are pro-American global dominance, you are identical to a hog. That's it. The difference between a hog and a liberal is that on its foundations, they still come from the same place. American exceptionalism, and America has to be the world police. Just the hog says more slurs while conducting itself and making an argument.
Also, what is this argument that America has to be the world's police? Isn't Yemen literally being, or trying to be the world's police right now by policing what ships are allowed to go through this particular, what would you call it, a waterway, shipping lane? Like,
on the other hand, that is not a hog, a Democratic Party voter, still has the same interest, still wants the same things to happen, but they don't say as many slurs. They think it's like kind of mean and rude to champion genocide while simultaneously also saying that you're championing genocide. It's a kinder, gayer imperialism. The U.S. and the U.K. are now bombing Yemen so the President's Israeli occupation regime continues genocide in Gaza, and the Western media and political class are cheering on and celebrating the same ones who demand every nation on earth do everything for Ukraine. I guess the analog is basically like, what would we do in this situation? You know what I mean? Like, America already did this against Russia to a certain degree, what Yemen is doing. But if like Estonia tried to do this to Russia, right, as Russia was like blowing up Ukraine, everyone was celebrated. Everyone was like, oh, thank God there's someone out there that's like doing the righteous.
Wait, did we, over the Ukraine war, was the U.S. closing shipping lanes to Russia? Did this ever happen? Was Russian traffic blocked through? I'm trying to remember if you can get through the Mediterranean from the from Ukraine. You can, right? Through that Crimea and through there and like through Turkey and stuff. I don't remember blockades. Did Turkey close it? Turkey blockade Russian traffic? Did Turkey do it? Is the Turkish Navy blocking Russian ships from crossing the Bosphorus Strait to Russian warships after the full-scale invasion of Ukraine? But they're still allowed to return to their home bases in the Black Sea. Okay. But they weren't closing it to like trade or merchant vessels. He's talking about warships. Hasan is talking about
analog is basically like, what would we do in this situation? You know what I mean? Like, America already did this against Russia to a certain degree, what Yemen is doing. But if like Estonia tried to do this to Russia, right, as Russia was like blowing up Ukraine, everyone was celebrated. Everyone was like, oh, thank God there's someone out there that's like doing the righteous thing. Do a poll of America tonight. Ask them if they know who the Houthis are, where they live, why we are bombing them, and whether the president has authority under the Constitution to bomb them. Go. Yeah. 30% of GOP voters support bombing Agrabah, the city from Aladdin. America has a ton of blockades on countries that aren't at war. It's not at war with. Yeah. The statement from Biden on the airstrikes.
How is this not like cringe as f? Like, this is the guy that's supposed to be politically informing me? Like, why would I need, some barely literate frat boy dipshit like this to read Twitter threads? I can read Twitter threads. Like, what? Can't we get like some more in-depth analysis, or like read something with a little bit more substance, or analyze something with a little? Why do I need him to just read tweets for me?
You can't just meme away from the Houthis have done. They've been trying to topple the Yemeni government for 30 years, of which had normal relations in the Middle East. Why aren't we talking about Iran sponsoring Shia military groups all over the Middle East? The rise of Sunni governments, which are much more in favor of normalization with Western powers in Israel. Not that Sunnis are innocent in killing Shiites, but this is a 1,000-year conflict that's not going to change. I'm done. I can't do this. What do you mean, dude? Normalizing with Western powers and Israel? What are we talking about? Hello? Are you familiar with Western powers in Israel and what they're doing? You have America's boot shoved so far up your ass that it's coming out of your mouth when you have this conversation. You just immediately take it for granted. Like, your standard of modernity is how well they get along with two imperial powers in the region, two destabilizing forces in the region that have killed more than anyone else. That is unimaginable. I know it's taken me 11 days to yell at a chatter, but god damn, what a idiotic approach to the subject, dude. That's insane. That's your standard? Wow, I can't believe how good Saudi Arabia is in the region because of how aligned they are with Western powers in Israel, even though they're doing a genocide in Yemen or they conducted it. If this is your standard of who's a good operative in the region, then yeah, you are morally righteous, except this is an incredibly idiotic way to assess the situation. How else is there going to be stability? Brother, please, I beg of you, just take a deep breath and really think about your output here. You are a f***ing neocon. You might fancy yourself to be a liberal, to be an intellectual, to be above that, but you are no different than a Christian fascist neocon with this way of thinking. Whoever doesn't align with the Western world.
If you don't support the Houthis, you are a Christian fascist neocon. Oh my God.
Deserves to get killed and deserves to get slaughtered. That's crazy. Want to be morally correct? Acknowledge the fact that they're all bad. And this whole my team, their team debate is garbage. There's nothing right happening in the Middle East. The only people suffering are the actual civilians that live day-to-day in poverty. Thank you for your big brain take, dude. No, there are morally correct positions to take. Two things that I always have to relitigate with an overwhelmingly American, overwhelmingly Western chat, which will never see the subjects as real humans. You only care about the civilians in the Middle East, the Muslims, whether they be Shia or Sunni, it doesn't matter. You only care about them when you can use them as a talking point against whatever foreign adversary of the United States of America or Israel, because it's an extension of the United States of America's foreign policy interests. Don't come to me with this bullshit. You are no different than the Republican that says, what about our homeless veterans when talking about how immigration must stop? That's it. Two principles. Let me explain to you. Two
principles that you should keep with you, coming from a person who's Turkish, okay? When you look at a situation in the Middle East, you look at what the local government is and who the Western forces are. Never align with the Western forces. An example I tell you all the time is the Turkish coup d'etat. A coup occurred in Turkey. The American-backed forces in that situation was the terrorist cell of Fethullah Gulen. He still lives in the Poconos, by the way. The Muslim cleric Fethullah Gulen had aligned with the CIA. Him and Recep Tayyip Erdogan grew up together, basically. His Islamist faction had basically overtaken the police, the court system, schools, and every facet of government. They slaughtered a ton of Turkish people in that coup d'etat. I can't even go back to Turkey because of all of my criticism of Erdogan. And yet, I much prefer Recep Tayyip Erdogan to the American puppet. That's how it works. That's it. This doesn't mean I love Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
He's not allowed to go. Is that true? He would be killed if he went back to Turkey. He wouldn't be. There's a complete conspiracy theory, by the way. Oh, is it? He's banned. He couldn't go back to Turkey. When was the last time Cenk went back to Turkey? Is he not allowed to?
Simply means that he is better than Fethullah Gulen. That's it. You, on the other hand, living in Langley, make this assessment from your perspective. So as someone who lived there, I can tell you what is what. So when I look at other countries, I look at a regional actor, whoever the regional power player is, and then I look at who is backed by the Western superpowers. And let me tell you, in almost every single case, the overwhelming majority cares about making sure they can deal with their own problems internally, domestically, not the Western-backed powers. That's a principle that you can take home with you. If you want to actually be moral, or if you want to be smart about the way you analyze other countries, that's one basic principle that you can take home with you. All of a sudden, magically, you are above on your foreign policy analysis. You're going to be better off than 90% of people that look at the situation. I hate when people come in here and try to talk about implementing stability by the metrics of who aligns with America's interests better.
Yeah, damn. I didn't know he was an asylum seeker in the U.S. Good for you, Hasan.
So the idea that there is no real journalistic interest here.
Did he turn his mic bass boost up? Sorry.
So the idea that there is no real journalistic interest here, okay, is laughable. So please do not get your information from Wikipedia consuming, Reddit point regurgitating, YouTube debate lords. If you want to be in the know.
Yeah. Instead, let's all read Twitter threads together.
If you want to be, knowledgeable on things that are going on. So the idea that there is no real journalistic interest.
Wait, do you think it's a reference to me? No. Here are some lies I've caught. At 2:20, he's suggesting that we have assisted in the genocide of Yemen's people.
Oh, they're doing this and we're showing our might towards a population of people that we had been doing we had been genociding, basically, and not directly genociding, indirectly genociding with a regional proxy. Like,
I guess everything is a genocide nowadays. The U.S. has supported the Saudi-led coalition of 9 countries in their intervention. This intervention was in response to a request from the Yemeni president to stop a coup by the Houthis. Saudi-led intervention in the Yemeni civil war. We'll just read the intro to these, I guess. On March 26th, 2015, Saudi Arabia, leading a coalition of 9 countries from West Asia and North Africa, launched an intervention in Yemen following a new joint request from Yemeni President Abdrabbu Mansur Hadi for military support after his forces were ousted from Sana'a by Houthi insurgents during the Yemeni civil war. Government forces, Houthi rebels, and other armed groups fought after the draft constitution and power-sharing arrangements collapsed despite progress made by the UN during the political transition at that time. Violence escalated in mid-2014. Houthis and allied insurgents seized control of Sana'a in September 2014, and thereafter, in response, President Hadi asked Saudi Arabia to intervene against the Iranian-backed Houthis. Do I need to watch this Philip DeFranco since all you f***ing retards are going to be spamming the link all day? Twitter is the least reputable source for anything. If so, Microsoft collapsed and everyone on iPhones like Twitter, people push. Twitter's not necessarily bad for news. I'm just saying it's funny to make fun of somebody for reading Wikipedia when you get all your news off Twitter, right? Like, it's just funny. You can find good information on Twitter. I don't think Hasan does, but... The intervention, codenamed Operation Decisive Storm, initially consisted of a bombing campaign on Houthi rebels and later a naval blockade and the deployment of ground forces into Yemen. The coalition attacked the positions of the Houthi militia and loyalists of the former president of Yemen, Ali Abdullah Saleh, who are supported by Iran, fighter jets and ground forces from Egypt, Morocco, Jordan, Sudan, I think, the UAE, Oman, helped provide medical services, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and Constellas, formerly called Blackwater, heeded the operation. Djibouti, Eritrea, I don't know how to pronounce this place, and Somalia made their airspace, territorial waters, and military bases available to the coalition. Damn, everybody hates these people. Okay. Which makes sense, right? Iranian-backed group. The United States provided intelligence logistical support, such as aerial refueling and search and rescue for downed coalition pilots. It accelerated the sale of weapons to coalition states, continued strikes against AQAP. What does that mean? Islamist military. Oh, is that Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula? Oh, okay. The Saudi foreign minister said the U.S. and British military officials were in the command and control center responsible for Saudi-led airstrikes in Yemen, having access to lists of targets but were not involved in choosing targets. The intervention received widespread criticism and had a dramatic worsening effect on Yemen's humanitarian situation, that reaching the level of a humanitarian disaster or humanitarian catastrophe. The question of whether or not the intervention is in compliance with Article 2, Section 4 of the UN Charter has been a matter of academic dispute. Conflict status was described as a military stalemate in 2019. The global COVID-19 pandemic is said to have given Saudi Arabia an opportunity to review its interests in Yemen. In early of 2020, it was said that Saudi Arabia was searching for an exit strategy amid the COVID-19 pandemic military defeats. On the 29th of March 2022, the Saudi-led coalition announced that it would cease all hostilities within Yemen starting at 6 a.m. the following day in order to facilitate political talks and peacekeeping efforts. What is the population of Saudi Arabia? 36 million people, bro. It's a decent chunk of change. The actual native population is 18.5 million. Oh, the other 20 million are probably just girls being flown in on spring break. My bad. Twitter, you're reading one person's thread without input from other people. Sometimes it's not even sourced and misinformation is rampant. Wikipedia, for all its faults, a collective effort has a higher standard for sources. You can obviously find good info on Twitter, but it's obviously not the same. Destiny should stress that Wikipedia is better. I mean, I'd say in general, Wikipedia is better. Well, but that's why I said you can find good information on Twitter. I don't think Hasan does. But yeah, obviously in Twitter, you're reading single sourced threads and you're way more likely to stumble into propaganda. On Twitter, you can edit your newsfeed a lot more just to show you stuff that you like. That is not necessarily going to be good information, so. The intervention was in response to a request of the Yemeni president to stop a coup by the Houthis. The U.S. has provided nearly $4.5 billion in aid to alleviate the suffering of the people of Yemen, but I guess this really shines the light on the problem with Hasan's coverage of Israel and Palestine. Man has no idea what genocide means, and he simply thinks that genocides is when many civilians die, because yes, the war in Yemen is tragic. UN Humanitarian Office puts Yemen war dead at 233,000, mostly from indirect causes. UN News, UN officials call it tragic, they call it sad, they call it an imminent catastrophe, but you know what, they don't even call it once a genocide. Genocide, by definition, needs intent to destroy a group. Waging war is not genocide, and people dying of famine caused by the war is not genocide. But Hasan likes to throw out words without even understanding them to make it say, yeah, we've done the genocide talk, basically, right? Genocide Watch did call what happened in Yemen a genocide emergency, but it said that both parties are committing the genocide. So if we go by this standard, Hasan is also sweating a genocidal terrorist group. Based. 250. America does this to flex for Israel. The Houthis attacked many different ships since October 17th, and somehow they failed to attack Israel's ships. The U.S. says it shot down 4 drones in the southern Red Sea launched from Houthi-controlled areas in Yemen. Drone attack follows the Pentagon openly accusing Iran of directly targeting ships for the first time since the start of the Gaza war. Hasan is watching you live right now. I don't believe
He
that.
literally thought Erdogan was the Palestinian president. He's a fucking joke. I know.
Why do you... Oh, never mind. I was going to say, why would you lie like that? Like, at any
Is
point...
there more so we can't claim that you're clip chimping? I don't...
Like, does he really think
know.
I've ever, at any point in time, thought that Erdogan was the fucking Palestinian president? Like, it's so stupid. It's funny that Hasan is, for all the claims of me being friendly with Groypers and Nick Fuentes, Hasan has probably propagated more Nazi misinformation about me than probably any other person on the internet. Hasan literally is subscribed to a lot of the Groyper threads, and he repeats all of their talking points about me. It's so funny. Even when he was talking to that one Adam Friedland guy, when Hasan was saying like, oh yeah, remember when Destiny said he epically debated his wife's divorce with her? He was quoting a Groyper Twitter thread when he said that. Like, yeah, it's just so stupid. He was liking those tweets on Christmas Day. I don't know if he was liking those specific ones, but... Oh, communists allying with Nazis against liberals. True. History repeating itself.
No, I know, which is why I usually don't spend a lot of time
reading or researching
kind
or
of
getting
thing.
educated on anything.
Actual journalists like Ryan Grimmer retweeting your interview. Meanwhile, Globe Emoji liberals are speedrunning 2001 Islam.
You did actually confuse the two once. It's not a lie at what Hasan said. I watched a video, I think, of like, there was also one with like Assad and Erdogan, and I didn't know what they looked like when they were younger. If you want to say like, I don't know who a leader looks like, that's fair, sure. Sometimes I don't know what the people look like. Although I've seen Assad, I've seen Erdogan, not Erdogan as much. I have seen Assad more because he got that f***ing facial shit. But the idea that like, I thought that Erdogan was the f***ing president of Palestine is f***ing retarded. Shitty, but like I think that Israel should just drop its fucking. Oh yeah, I play that clip again. Basically, the one prior, the one that was like a month before October 7th. He's so mad. Holy shit!
You can say that. You 100% you can say that. If you are a supporter of Israel, you can say that as a joke, seriously, and you're not going to suffer repercussions for that.
Also, Destiny.
What is he watching? Bashar al-Assad, is that this guy? I don't know what they look like, so I mean, I have no idea who they are. By the way, I'm glad he's showing this because this is what that person on YouTube was referencing. Erdogan? I don't know if that's this guy's name.
Why should he know? Why should he know these things? That's the whole point. If you are directly motivated by racist screeds, and that is your substitute for Middle Eastern policy, I mean, there's plenty of
and it's so funny too, because like if I'm so retarded that I don't know any of this shit, imagine how easily you would just crush me in a debate. Imagine how easily you would crush me, right? If I'm so retarded. I think Erdogan, that's the president of Palestine, right?
culture or black existence in America? No, of course not. They don't. Why should they? If they did, they probably wouldn't have those positions. That's my point.
He should do the one where I also can't find Palestine on a map as well.
America, there are a lot of people as a consequence of the 20-year affair that is known as the War on Terror and all of the media training that was necessary for people to either turn the other cheek, look the other way, or directly champion in that War on Terror have been brain poisoned into thinking that every Muslim is this like barbarian freak that deserves ethnic cleansing. So my point is,
how would that even make sense if you also say that I'm sucking all the Saudis and all of the US allies in the regions too that are also Muslim, by the way?
What they are saying, what they are defending, they think about this as, you know, haha, whatever.
Censored men. I wonder if that's a Griper account.
Wikipedia research stream. All I
Not looking good. Sean Strickland outlines his issues with the LGBT community. 10 years ago to be trans is a mental illness. There's a mental fucking illness. Do you agree with Sean? Groups of American Christians go to Israel to serve Jews. This is who Hasan is quoting? He's what the fuck? Jew flag, Jew flag, Jew flag. An Israeli colonial, I'm sorry, colonel, admits using tank fire in civilian infrastructure. This could just be, you know, Israeli war, you know? They're just, the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service, acronym ISIS. Oh! You know, in some ways I say they're probably really happy right now, but in other ways they're probably like super molding. Like again, imagine if you're like Fuentes and you see like all of the anti-Semitic shit now, and you're like, fuck. Kanye West is like, fuck, I should have waited a couple years. I would have been gold.
Those Reddit logs or those DGG posts are still very much available for all that want to see it, where he's like so upset about Hasan's success. I made him, blah, blah, blah.
Really? Right? Which ones? Link them. What? Link the Reddit post.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Before I get to the heated Israel versus Palestine debate with Bassem Youssef again, it's not the fact that he's a music school dropout that makes him bad or not knowledgeable. There are plenty of brilliant people that didn't go to college, and there are plenty of dumbasses who did go to college. I'm a dumbass who went to college, okay? Doesn't mean shit.
What's the problem, though? Tell us the problem, though.
The issue is, if you have these incredible biases,
yeah,
it actually neuters your commentary. It's ironic because many people say I have a bias against America, that I'm America bad and America bad only, and that's
why would anybody think that?
My only commentary.
Nah.
On the subject.
No way.
That's not the only commentary I have on the subject. There's plenty of historical background that I provide.
Wait, why would he say that's not the only thing I say? Wait, why wouldn't you refuse that? Why would you say, no, of course I don't just think America bad. Why would you be like, well, that's not all I say. Why would you own that?
Description, anytime I...
It's like somebody said that I raped a girl and beat the shit out of her last night. Okay, listen, hold on. We did a lot of stuff that night, okay? Why would you own that?
Because America decided they were bad, and you're bad. You hate America. Okay? There's so much more. Anytime I give historical context, people say I'm rambling as well. It's just a way to, boom, stop the conversation dead in its tracks. just agree with me. It's the same principle behind going, you're a terrorist supporter. You support terrorism. Why would you cover this conversation? Why would you have a conversation with a person? Why would you even humanize them? They're a terrorist. They love slavery. They love doing slavery. I bet they love doing slavery. And it's like, you don't know any of those things. You made this assertion. And the leading motivator when making such an assertion in your mind was racism.
The funny thing is that all of this stems, all of this hatred, the mind break. Remember how I said, like, everybody goes to like one thing that breaks their mind? It was this moment.
Collective identity for themselves, and that is the main difference between white culture and black culture, and why black culture is
we're not
for the most part.
Destiny, get in here.
I just have a question. It was like white people, it wouldn't really affect us much because white people are more socioeconomically privileged because we own more businesses, we have more representation in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas if you're a majority power person and you can be oppressive towards a minority class person, like by virtue of them being minority class, like by that virtue alone, they're already typically disadvantaged in American society. So when we say like, can somebody be racist against somebody under like, I guess like the common vernacular of like, could somebody hate somebody because of their skin color? Of course, anybody can do that. But when we start like analyzing society, we look at like meaningful demonstrations of racism. So for instance, like the criminal justice system or economic disadvantages, right? In these ways, minority people can't really exercise racism against majority people because they don't really have the status or the power in society in order to do so.
I vote for Destiny.
It's like I wish Destiny could just come in at the beginning and give us the right answer right away instead of making us wait.
So we didn't have to list a fucking Hasan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me feel
like we have the cheat sheet right here.
Honestly, like
it's funny because like the only way
it's such a fucking retarded thing to say. Like, I'm sorry, but like if you can't comprehend the fucking shit that I'm saying, it's on you, okay? I'm doing as best as I'm doing.
Hey, yeah, Wes.
You said the R
He
word.
literally said the exact same thing that I just said. Like, what the fuck are you guys talking
You can
about?
say retard on Twitch. Zeta Poppin says it all the time.
Fuck Twitch then.
No, wait, relax. Hey, come on now, Wes. Let's be nice. Wait, what did I do? Well, look.
I was just
joking. I don't make jokes about people taking it so seriously.
Why I use prejudice or discrimination over racism is because, again, like Destiny mentioned, that I padded up with legislative background information.
Hasan, do you want my
is that
actual
you can't have
answer?
fucking power.
Even though I get you think I'm stupid, what I was trying to say is that because all arguments are based on your definition. So what he did is he laid.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, his molding goes on for 15 minutes after her comment on and off. Yeah, I know. But the funny thing too is that like she's saying it. I think she knows she's like triggering the out of him because she laughs like right after she says it too. It was just funny. His insecurity is hilarious, I think.
But let.
These attacks, the United States shot down 4 drones, blah, blah. These attacks represent the 14th and 15th attacks on commercial shipping by Houthi militants since October 17th, CENTCOM said in a post on X, formerly Twitter. God, what a stupid fucking name change. This article was written on the 23rd of December, so almost a full month ago. The Iran-aligned Houthis, who control much of Yemen, disrupted world trade for weeks with attacks on ships passing through the Bab al-Mandab Strait at the southern end of the Red Sea, and what they say is a response to Israel's war on Gaza. The U.S. Naval Forces Central Command responded to distress calls from 2 ships under attack, CENTCOM said. A Norwegian-flagged owned and operated chemical/oil tanker reported a near miss of a Houthi drone attack, and a Gabon-owned Indian-flagged crude oil tanker reported being hit by a one-way attack. Listen, when it says something owned Indian-flagged, does Indian-flagged mean that like it's the vessel came from India or is owned by somebody in India or like Gabon, the country owns the vessel, but what does that mean? It means it's under the protection of, or it's operated by, or that's the point of origin. Registered in India. Okay. Does it sail under an Indian flag? Like if I have a US vessel and I do shipping, but I like launch from France, am I going to be called like America owned France flag? Do I have to fly a fucking French flag? No way, right? Ships have to show a flag that indicates their port of origin? No way. 2 Houthi anti-ship ballistic missiles were also fired into international shipping lanes in the southern Red Sea from Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen, it said. No ships reported being impacted by the ballistic missiles. Is that intentional that they're firing and missing to like get like certain attacks or whatever like stirred up in the area or something like that? Is there like a reason why, or are they just missing because they don't have the tech to hit the ships? The UK Maritime Trade Operations Agency earlier reported that an unscrewed aerial system had exploded near a vessel in the Bab al-Mandab Strait, 45 nautical miles southwest of Salif, Yemen. There's probably a lot of electronic warfare going on there, messing with the guidance. Really? Meanwhile, a Japanese-owned chemical tanker struck Saturday off the coast of India was targeted by a drone fired from Iran, the Pentagon said. Also, when something is targeted by a drone, what does that mean? Like a drone flies over and drops a grenade? A drone like kamikazes in? Or a drone has like a rocket launcher attached? Or... we need to watch a video on drones at some point. Saturday's attack took place about 10 a.m. local time and caused no casualties aboard the vessel. It said, adding that a fire was extinguished. They have a big charge. The U.S. military remains in communication with the vessel as it continues towards a destination in India, it added. It was the first time the Pentagon openly accused Iran of directly targeting ships since the start of Israel's war on Hamas, according to agents France Presse. Mostly suicide. The Pentagon statement said the MV Chem Pluto ship flew under a Liberian flag and was operated by a Dutch entity, although the ship is owned by a Japanese company. Christ. Ombre, a maritime security firm, said the chemical/product tanker was Israel affiliated and has been on its way from Saudi Arabia to India. The Indian Navy said it responded to a request for assistance. An aircraft was dispatched and it reached overhead the vessel and established safety of the involved ship and its crew, a Navy official told AFP. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the strike. The Red Sea attacks on shipping since the start of the Israel-Hamas war have prompted major firms to reroute their cargo vessels around the southern tip of Africa despite the higher fuel costs of much longer voyages. Jesus. The Houthi rebels have launched more than 100 drone and missile attacks, targeting 10 merchant vessels involving more than 35 different countries, according to the Pentagon. Keep in mind, this is about a month-old article, so I imagine the numbers are probably quite a bit higher. Quite a bit higher. On Saturday, an official in Iran's Revolutionary Guard warned of the forced closure of other waterways unless Israel halted its war with Hamas. With the continuation of these crimes, America and its allies should expect the emergence of new resistance forces and the closure of other waterways, Mohammad Reza Naqvi said, quoted by Iran's Tasnim news agency. The United States launched Operation Prosperity Guardian 3 days ago, saying more than a dozen countries had agreed to participate in an effort that will involve joint patrols in Red Sea waters near Yemen. I'm so curious about Iranian history. Well, one day we'll do it. Maybe after Saturday, maybe after Greenwald. 3 commercial vessels attacked the Red Sea by Houthi rebels. This is also almost a month old. What is this?
Folks, if you're coming in here and you've never watched me before or you've only seen clips of me,
oh, you can see the reduction.
I urge you to stick around.
If you've only seen clips of me,
because I promise you, okay, beyond the massaged narratives off of 8-second clips, you will develop a much better understanding of what I support and what I advocate for and where I'm coming from. Okay? I am first and foremost...
he says as he watches like 15-second clips of me from 6 months ago.
...going to be charitable, no matter what. And I do admit that over the course of the past couple of years, the relentless attacks have made me infinitely less charitable to those, and it makes me feel as though, sometimes, inappropriately, that any contentious chatter is actually a bad faith debater. Okay?
Not a debate pedophile.
Interesting you say that, dude. But then do the exact same to D-Man, use 8 seconds of clips against them. So mad, Omega Lol.
Oh, I can't believe I read that one out. Uh-oh.
I think that is a charitable and honest framework that I have withstood time and time again. If Destiny wanted, to present himself a little bit better, I assume he wouldn't personally say vicious things time and time again.
Wait, what? Did he just justify using 8-second clips against me after saying that people shouldn't use 8-second clips against me? Wait, what the f***?
But I don't think that there's any way that I can convince you that he is Islamophobic, for example. Okay?
He's using Islamophobic as a stand-in here for racist, I guess. Like, it doesn't even make sense. How would I be... if I was Islamophobic, why would I support, like, Saudi Arabia? Like, how is that Islamophobic?
I can't. Because I think you agree with him.
Also, what a lazy analysis.
That's the point. But it's okay.
Yeah, I literally pay a Somalian, Malaysian foreign exchange student on my payroll, okay? I'm an equal opportunity employer. A guy, by the way, that argued against me, you should be able to beat the shit out of people who make fun of Muhammad. Jesus. That's how I met Q, by the way. So you're saying people can't be anti-Semitic if they support Israel? It'd be pretty hard to be. That sounds like a pretty hard thing, but you could be. I'm just saying there's no proof that I'm like Islamophobic in the way that he's saying. If anything, my analysis is probably, of all the like large people that I know of that look at the Middle East, my analysis is probably one of the most devoid of religious context like ever. Like, I'm pretty sure I've said over and over again that the religious analysis of Israel-Palestine is boring to me. I don't even hardly engage in it, like barely at all. I think I've said multiple times, I don't think it's that relevant, at least until 20 years ago. I don't think it's that relevant. Even 20 years ago, I don't know if it's that relevant. I'm like one of the only people that look at this like particular conflict. I don't even think religion is an important part of it. I don't think religion even matters in this part of it.
But
I said, that's not what I said. I said according to Hamas.
Yeah, but
so
like,
whether I believe the numbers,
when you say according to Hamas, it's the undertone that you don't believe the numbers.
With all due respect, you're missing my point. 30,000, other than the Hamas fighters, because I will stand to kill these people. I hope zero civilians.
Do you actually support the regime of Saudi Arabia, or you're just saying that in a very broad way? I don't know if I support the regime of Saudi Arabia. I'm just saying that I support roughly like U.S. interests and U.S. allies, and Saudi Arabia is one of those, and that's what he was criticizing me for.
In the process, it blows my mind, except much worse, okay? Literally much worse. Genuinely frustrating.
Do you think it's unfair to think that Hasan's talking points are leading to increased anti-Semitism among his viewers? I don't think he's actually anti-Semitic, obviously. No, I think it's fair to say that. Well, I mean, unless he does a lot to combat it amongst his viewership, but I doubt it. I think he would flirt with that, and he'd court that, and he'd make excuses for that. Love when libs present themselves as intellectually superior to conservatives or empathetic and then just go on a racist rant about how a 19-year-old Arab dude from Yemen is a fan of child soldiers and slavery when he never said anything of the sort. How dare I humanize him? You're doing a great job. Keep digging that hole. Do you threaten us with what we are waiting for, son of a Jew? Son of a Jew is a popular slang among Arabs. Jew in most Arabic dialect means stingy. It is racist and very stereotypical, but it's a word that completely lost its meaning, and most people have been using it blindly for decades without connecting it to the Jews. Holy Christ. Okay. Okay. Sorry, we're gonna make it through this. I want parents to know what their kids are watching on Twitch. Hasan Piker is a self-admittedly propagandist now brought a literal Houthi terrorist on his stream. What in the interview was detestable. We've put literal war criminals on TV and asked them what they think about shit. But Hasan supports the guy. Why do you guys keep ignoring this? Hasan actually supports this guy. Also, this guy barely said anything about anything. Just said he supports Palestinians and that's it. There's no record of this guy doing anything, by the way. Hasan said, we think what you Houthis are doing is what Luffy would do. This is clearly in support of a terrorist act of the Houthis group by comparing them to a main protagonist of an anime who is a good guy. Yes, that's what the Houthis are doing is good. Oh, nice. Oh, not the same guy, but just for the record, Yassine, you think attacking, targeting random civilians that have nothing to do with the conflict at all and then taking them hostage is considered good, correct? They're not keeping hostages. The crew are fine. It's the ship itself being held hostage. And yes, I do think it's good to target Israeli shipping and shipping to Israel to enforce an anti-genocidal blockade. They were, though. What the fuck are you on? They aren't hostages. They're guests. They're being treated with the utmost hospitality. Bro. What is happening? Are they allowed to leave? Their lives aren't being threatened or used as a negotiating token in exchange for anything. By definition, they're not being held hostage. Are they allowed to leave? Yes or no? Even if we try to claim they're blockading Israel, the attacks can be easily proven to be indiscriminate against anyone who goes through there. 255. Hasan suggests that people who support the US's bombing think that this is a trade-off for healthcare, and even then, willing to support it. That's not how government spending works. If US citizens really wanted healthcare that much, they would help someone win the primary and then the election who promises healthcare. Also, it's not a comment anyone made. True. 340. Houthis attack Israel-linked ships. Based on the previous articles, most attacked ships didn't have any link to Israel. 530. He's implying that the Houthis tried to implement sanctions to the best of their abilities against Israel. They attacked non-Israeli affiliated ships that did not go to or came from Israel. What does this mean? Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Wait, what? Did he say
just
this?
and righteous, then you can't be criticizing the that you think that boycott, divestments, and sanctions on the state of Israel is morally just and righteous. Then you can't be criticizing the one group of dudes who, at least with the limited resource they have, tried to implement it.
I'm sorry. BDI is when you try to blow ships up in the ocean? What the f is this comparison? Wait, what? Or BDS, sorry. What is BDI? BDU. Wait, what the fuck am I thinking of? BDS is boycott, divestment, and sanctions, right? BDS. This is all the stuff in the US that makes it so you can't boycott Israel, otherwise your state will get very mad at you.
When it comes to the operations of Ansar Allah, they are pursuing their
They attacked non-Israeli affiliated ships that did not go to or come from Israel. It's a pretty uncommon way to sanction a nation by attacking unrelated civilians. Saudi Arabia stays out of this war because the population support the Houthis' action. There is no evidence for this, and a more likely explanation would be that they don't want to interfere to not jeopardize their peace talks with the Houthis, which could end a 9-year war. MBS, what does MBS stand for? That's like the monarch in Saudi Arabia, right? Mohammed bin Salim. Oh, is that the crown prince? Crown prince and also head of the government. I feel like effectively, didn't the crown prince generally always do everything? Or also in Saudi Arabia, don't they do weird shit where I don't know anything about the Saudi government structure. In Saudi Arabia, can't the kingship like pass from brother to brother, not just to son? Or am I making that up? That's Lion King? Depends on secession or succession. Depends, but the son takes priority over the uncle. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia is the second most important position in Saudi Arabia, second to the king, and it is his designated successor. Currently, the Crown Prince assumes power with the approval of the Allegiance Council after he's nominated by the king. This system was introduced in the country during the reign of King Abdullah. This isn't the same King Abdullah from Jordan, right? They just all use the same names? Okay. In the absence of the king, an order is issued to have the Crown Prince manage the affairs of the state until the king's return. Holy fuck, why do these shit-ass fucking cultures all use the same hodgepodge fucking Toontown character creation style naming schemes? True. Anyway, here's our 57th politician with the last name Kennedy. The Saudi Arabian Purge was the mass arrest of a number of prominent Saudi Arabian princes, government ministers, and business people in Saudi Arabia on the 4th of November 2017, the following few weeks after the creation of an anti-corruption committee led by the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman. Wait, what the fuck? Wait, am I face blind? I feel like I've seen this picture before, and I thought that my face was photoshopped on it. Does this look like me, or am I going crazy right now? Wait, people are saying no. People are saying yes. That looks more like Dan. Really? Wait, okay, hold on. I've seen this picture before. Is this photoshopped, or is this photoshopped to look like me, or is this his normal face? Can somebody tell me? I can't. No, bro, it's my face. I know my face. What is my I needed 23andMe. There is a better Photoshop? Wait, so is this a Photoshop or not? What is this subreddit from? Is there a way I can click? If I click visit Reddit, it doesn't even take me. Okay, these don't really look like me. Wait, where the f is that one picture? Maybe that was a Photoshop. Okay, hold on. These don't look anything like me. Wait, here's the original? No, wait, that is Photoshopped. Okay. Okay, wait, so I'm not face blind. So all of you that said I was face blind, you're wrong, because it was literally Photoshopped with my face, okay? You guys were wrong. I was right. This is literally Photoshopped to look like me, okay? It was literally Photoshopped to look at me. You guys are the face blind ones. Okay. You. Iran doesn't need extra permission to wage war with Israel at this point. Not sure what to say about this, but I wanted to bring attention to this Hasan quote.
In the region. This is something that I've stressed quite a bit. This is why I said, like, Iran doesn't need any extra permission to be able to, like, directly wage war with Israel at this point. That's important to understand.
Because they're a theocratic dictatorship. Why would they ever need permission for anything? Permission from who? From Allah? From God? Is this photoshopped, or is that me wearing a grandma's picnic table tablecloth? Okay, stop. If it was Russia or China doing it, we would be like, we need to nuke Beijing right now. I don't think anyone would have particular problems if China defended its civil ships from terrorists. Fun fact, China and Russia could have stopped America in the UN Council, but they abstained from the vote. So while China did raise the concerns of destabilizing the region, they didn't vote against the US and UK protecting civilians from terror attacks. Ooh. Security Council strongly condemns Houthi attacks on Red Sea shipping. 10th of January, 1 week ago. Russia first proposed 3 amendments to the draft text, but all were defeated, paving the way for a vote on the draft resolution. There were 11 votes in favor, none against, and 4 countries abstained: China, Russia, Algeria, and Mozambique. If you ever want to know if somebody's really f***ing up, when the United States or NATO, or the United States leading some coalition, you want to go bomb the f*** somebody, when China and Russia are abstaining, when they're like, you know what, we're just not going to vote on this, then somebody is definitely up. Okay, somebody's definitely up. The UN Security Council on Wednesday passed a resolution condemning in the strongest terms the multiple attacks by Houthi rebels off the coast of Yemen, which have disrupted global trade and raised fears of further spillover from the war in Gaza. The meeting follows an emergency briefing and consultations last week to address the growing threat posed by militant attacks in one of the world's key shipping channels. The United States reported earlier in the day that together with UK naval forces, it had shot down 21 drones and missiles fired by Houthi rebels from Yemen on Tuesday in the southern Red Sea. There have been over 24 separate attacks on international shipping carried out by the rebel movement, which controls much of Yemen, since the 7th of October terror attacks by Hamas led to Israel's offensive in Gaza. Houthis control the capital Sana'a, I don't know how to pronounce the name of this, and large swaths of the country, including the Red Sea coast. They began targeting what they believe to be Israeli-bound vessels, or Israel-bound vessels, in mid-November after first launching missile and drone attacks against Israel itself in support of the extremist group Hamas. Now they have widened their aim to all international shipping companies until, they say, Israel allows full humanitarian supplies to enter Gaza, causing many companies to divert ships far to the south around the Cape of Good Hope, driving up costs and threatening to disrupt the entire global supply chain. Council members previously condemned the Houthi attacks and demanded the release of the Japanese-registered Galaxy leader and its crew in a December 1st, 2023 press statement. Last week's briefing and consultations were held following a lack of consensus on a draft presidential statement in late December. The draft resolution condemns in the strongest terms the Houthi attacks on merchant and commercial vessels since November 19th, demanding that the group immediately cease all such attacks as well as release the Galaxy leader and its crew. The text calls for respect for the exercise of navigational rights and freedoms by merchant and commercial vessels in line with international law. It further takes note of the right of member states in accordance with international law to defend their vessels from attacks, including those that undermine navigational rights and freedoms. The text commends efforts taken so far to protect shipping under fire in the Red Sea and encourages member states to support capacity building efforts of the Yemeni Coast Guard to protect the sovereignty and integrity of the country. It also emphasizes the need to address the root causes of the attacks that are contributing to regional tensions to ensure a prompt, efficient, and effective response. The resolution condemns the provisions of any arms to the Houthis and urges caution and restraint to avoid further escalation of the situation in the Red Sea and the broader region. It urges continued support for the UN-led peace process to end Yemen's long-running civil conflict. Japan Permanent Representative Yamakaze Kazuyuki, who drew up the resolution along with the U.S., denounced the Houthi attacks and demanded the release of the Galaxy leader's crew. The delegate called upon the council to speak in a single voice on this issue and expressed hope that the resolution would help create common ground to respond to the security crisis in the vital shipping channel. Russian ambassador Vasily Nebenzia expressed what he described as emphasized what he described as the dangerous side of the resolution presented by the United States. This text should not create a precedent, said the delegate, adding that International law deals with freedom of navigation in peacetime, not in wartime. He regretted the politicized nature of the text, as well as the allegations of politicization voiced by the U.S. towards his country. While condemning the attacks on civilian ships, the Russian delegation stated that the objective of the resolution was not ensuring the safety of navigation of the Red Sea, but an attempt to legitimize the coalition's actions led by the United States and the United Kingdoms, and to obtain indirectly the Security Council's blessings. In order to correct the situation in the Red Sea, Mr. Nebenzia said it was important to recognize the direct consequence of Israel's very violent military operations that have lasted for more than 3 months in Gaza. China, Algeria, Sierra Leone. The omission of this causal link in the wording of the resolution was also invoked by Algeria, China, and Sierra Leone to justify their absentations. We could not associate ourselves with a text that ignores the 23,000 lives that have been taken since last October in the Gaza Strip, summed up Algeria's top representative, Ambassador Amar Banjama. China's permanent representative Zhang Jun saw in the resolution's ambiguities a reason to fear an exacerbation of regional tensions in the U.S. After having noted that few of the ships under had actually been chartered by Israeli companies, the U.S. considered that what is at stake is not a conflict in particular, but the fact that freedom of navigation is being taken hostage. We should not obscure the fact that Iran offers its support for the Houthis to attack merchant and commercial ships passing through the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandab Strait in violation of Resolution 2216 of the Security Council, insisted Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield. Hyphenated last name. Big yikes. The threats to navigation rights in the Red Sea are a global problem that requires a global action, she said. Houthi attacks in the Red Sea help China criticize the U.S. but threaten long-term policy. This shit. Since December 15th, the Shanghai Containerized Freight Index benchmark, which measures rates for transporting imported goods from China, has risen 161%, from $1,029 to $2,694 as ships take the longer journey around the Cape of Good Hope to avoid Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. God damn. China has stated its concern about regional instability in the UN Security Council, but distanced itself from the U.S. and its allies' narrow framing of the escalation as exclusively a freedom of navigation crisis. Instead, China's deputy permanent representative to the UN, Geng Shuang, interpreted the situation as a direct spillover effect of Israel's war in Gaza and highlighted that any U.S.-led military response could further degrade stability in Yemen and the wider region. Houthi attacks, therefore, allow Beijing to develop its criticism of U.S. policy as fueling an unjust war, contributing to regional instability, but any escalation of the crisis would also represent a threat to China's influence in the Middle East, one that could damage its growing interest in the region. China's position is influenced by the Houthis' claims to be targeting only Israeli ships and those bound for Israeli ports. Beijing believes, even though the attacks have also targeted ships with no ties to Israel, Beijing believes that any political support for the U.S.-led maritime coalition against the Houthis would undermine its support for a permanent ceasefire and peace process in Gaza, antagonize regional populations, and delegitimize its long-term prospects for leadership in the global south. China's trade, meanwhile, is unlikely to be severely affected by the attacks. The Houthis have ignored oil tankers so far and will almost certainly avoid targeting Chinese ships to avoid embarrassing Iran or instigating a dramatic shift in Beijing's position. From a purely economic cost-benefit calculation, shipping costs and insurance premiums shot up. They are still well below COVID-19 levels. China's exports have lagged since June due to weak global demand. They're expected to remain slow throughout January due to the end of the Christmas season before picking up again before the Lunar New Year in February. The cost for Israel seems to be low too. The Houthi attacks reduced traffic at Eilat port by 80%. But this port handles only 5% of Israel's seaborne trade. Again, this permits China to criticize the U.S.-led Operation Prosperity Guardian as not so much about protecting Israel's economy or asserting U.S. power in the region. The fact that other major Arab states chose not to be involved in the coalition and that there is still not a UN mandate for it, unlike the anti-piracy military task force of the Horn of Africa, in which China is a part, means that China sees absolutely no benefit of People's Liberation Army Navy planned participation in a security operation against the Houthis. What was the date of this article? It was the 9th of January. And then the Security Council resolution was on the 10th of January. Oh, okay. China also has to acknowledge the concerns of its most consequential Middle East partners, Saudi Arabia and Iran, concerns relating to Yemen's peace process. The Houthis want to use the crisis to improve their position in negotiations with the Saudis, gain recognition as a real resistance movement, and assert themselves as a central pillar in Iran's axis of resistance. A U.S.-led military campaign against Houthi targets would harden the Houthi stance, but could also collapse Yemeni peace negotiations. That could provoke a resumption of Houthi missile and drone attacks against Saudi and Emirati targets, a worry which the Saudis have also been privately stressing with the U.S. Collapse of the Yemen peace process would undoubtedly throw the China-brokered Saudi-Iran de-escalation process into the abyss. The return of an intense rivalry between the two countries would in turn set back China's efforts to promote its vision for regional security under its global security initiative. The Iran-Saudi deal is the bedrock of Beijing's regional vision. The three likely scenarios for escalation in the coming weeks illustrate how Chinese interests could come under intense pressure. The U.S.-led coalition could conduct a major military offensive to end Houthi control of Hudaydah, a strategic port on the Red Sea, and redesignate the Houthis as a terrorist organization. Alternatively, it could carry out targeted strikes on the Houthis' inland missile launching sites, command and control headquarters, and naval capabilities. Both military responses were triggering a regional war with Iran's direct participation, increasing anger among regional populations, as the U.S. will be increasingly seen as fighting Israel's war. Such a scenario would encourage the Houthis to try and block navigation of the strait entirely. In this case, fighting in Yemen, the Houthi missile attack on Saudi infrastructure could swiftly resume. China may well be pressuring Iran to rein in the Houthis, but will be pleased with the strategic bind the Houthi attacks create for the Biden administration. A U.S.-led military response might further destabilize the region, supporting Beijing's narrative. U.S. inaction risks projecting weakness, which could accelerate regional countries' hedging, bringing them closer to China and Russia. The U.S., the U.K., and their allies should increase their coordination with Arab countries on the crisis and take their concerns seriously. To delegitimize China's position, they must first legitimize the coalition by seeking a UN mandate for its operations, which they did, that's good, while prioritizing diplomatic solutions. This will kill two birds with one stone by potentially achieving de-escalation with minimum risk to regional stability. But the ultimate policy to bring about stability will be U.S. support for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. More than any other action, this will help to reduce tensions in the Red Sea and help the Biden administration counter Chinese and Russian long-term influence in the region. Without it, Chinese narratives portraying the U.S. as a destabilizing force will continue to carry weight in the Middle East and the wider global South. Interesting. Okay. 6:30. Iran doesn't need permission to wage war with Israel. Oh, we already did this. 7:40. Hasan calls the U.S. and the U.K. the two worst, historically most genocidal superpowers. While both the US and the UK has committed many terrible things in their history, they just don't compare to most other superpowers. So let's see some of the bigger genocides, or the biggest genocides. The Uyghur genocide, China is still ongoing. We don't know the numbers. The Holocaust from Nazi Germany was 4 to 7 million. Oh, wait, I thought the Holocaust was like 11 million. Is there something weird going on here? Wait, how many people died in the Holocaust? Wait, am I fucking retarded? I thought it was 20 million. Was it 20? I thought it was like 6 million Jews and like 5 million Soviets, and then I guess like other people too. Or maybe does the Holocaust only include the Jews or whatever? Oh, maybe. Okay, whatever. Holodomor is 3 to 5 million. German atrocities committed against Soviet prisoners of war. Oh, Nazi. Okay, that's probably okay. 3 to no. There are tons more that have casualty rates in the hundreds of thousands. But if we look to the biggest genocides, we can see the superpowers responsible for it are Nazi Germany, Communist China, USSR, Russian Empire, Ottoman Empire, Chinese empires before the Republic of China, Imperial Japan, or if we want some more historical examples, Rome, the Mongol Empire, and the Han Dynasty. Let's see. 8 minutes. America is bad. While America has done so many bad things historically, if we compare it to any other nation, what do we respond at this point for? Liberals and hogs agree on foreign policy. It's really easy to go on Twitter and see the conservatives are calling this an illegal intervention from Biden, but if we want to bring up who agrees with who, far left and far right was never this close in America. Hasan and Nick Fuentes are basically saying the same things. Genocide in Gaza, Houthis were in the right and they want to stop the genocide. Israel is evil. America should intervene against Israel. A legal war against Yemen. He also says that liberals want America to be the world police, but I think a better way to phrase it would be that liberals want NATO and the UN to be the world police, while hogs couldn't care less about America policing the world. It's really clear that since Trump, conservatives became isolationists, but while we're at it, I really want to know who Hasan wants to be the bigger superpower in the world. No one. Leads to total chaos across the globe. China, Russia, India? Liberalism is a kinder, gayer imperialism. Okay. America did this against Russia. This refers to the piracy that the Houthis have done. No, America didn't drone strike any non-Russian or even Russian civilian cargo ships that went through international waters close to Russia. He got this take from the squirrel. Oh, that would make sense if that's where it came from. America has tons of blockades on countries they aren't at war with. Yes, but unrelated. The Houthis didn't have a blockade over Israel. They simply attack any ship. No. Okay. The U.S. not blockading any country, much less one they aren't at war with. This likely comes from lefties criticizing or conflating an embargo and a blockade. An embargo is when a country doesn't allow its citizens and companies to trade with a certain country. A blockade is when a country prevents other countries from trading with a certain country using military force, for example, by sinking ships or carrying goods to that country. For instance, the U.S. has an embargo against Cuba, which means that American companies aren't allowed to trade with Cuba, but the U.S. doesn't block other countries from trading with Cuba. A blockade against Cuba would mean the U.S. is sinking ships and shooting down planes from China, for example, if they're going to Cuba, which is obviously not happening. Liberals only care about the civilian casualties in the Middle East when they can lead a cause against American casualties. 2 principles coming from a Turkish man. When you look at a situation in the Middle East, look at the local government and who aligns with the West. Never side with the West. Based. America bad. You can't criticize the Houthis for child soldiers. Wait, did he say?
We in Afghanistan directly align with boy fuckers and allowed it to continue in Afghanistan. Do you care about boy fucking and put?
Bro, that was like reports from soldiers that heard stories of this. This is like not, it wasn't like we had like the boy squad out there that we were funding. Like go some chill. What a wild comparison. How stable was Afghanistan when we were there? How stable was Iraq when we were there? How stable was Afghanistan and Iraq before America went there? It's not likely they were stable utopia before America went there. What is he referring to there? I don't know if this is true or not, but I believe in Afghanistan, there were reports sometimes that Afghan soldiers were raping young children. I don't know if that's true or not, but I remember hearing about that like a decade ago. I'm not sure how. I'm not sure how true it is, but I feel like I remember hearing that like soldiers would report it or they'd hear about it, but people just wouldn't do anything about it because it was like they were just like. But I don't know how true. I don't know how true that is. I just remember hearing. Says he will vote for Joe Biden. Oh, good job. That was me. Sorry. If you change your mind about something because of an online debate, you have too little conviction. This whole segment was kind of weird, and wonder how much he was alluding to Destiny and his fans here. If you change your mind about being a Nazi and turn into a liberal, good for you and good for everyone. I won't care about how little conviction you had being a Nazi. America's not bombing Yemen because their logo has cursed Jews on it. America's bombing Yemen because the Houthis are stopping commerce in the Red Sea, and that commerce is stopped because Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza. Okay. Just listen to this rant. I can't even describe how insane it is.
And the only thing you can do is cope with the reality that America has done nothing for you, specifically with all of its imperial bounty, so you can think, oh yeah, we can roll over one of the poorest countries on the fucking planet. Good. Congratulations. Congratulations, dumbass. You did it. You're still a pathetic loser who's not going to be able to pay rent. Your boss is going to fuck one girlfriend that you maybe will ever be able to get, and you have no recourse whatsoever. For the rest of your life, you're going to be a pathetic little pleb who goes, that's awesome. We got it, baby. We're killing the Houthis out there. It's so stupid, brother. There's no way for you to ever recover from this. This is how desperate white supremacist Nazis are. You are behaving in the exact same way that the jawless, chinless Iowa Nazis behave. I know I can't get a job, and I don't want to examine the material conditions. Everyone has told me that as a white man, I'm supposed to be so powerful, and none of that happened. So what must be the real problem? Oh, that's right. I'm going to go dominate black people real quick. I'm going to go act like I am superior to them. I am descendant of the Nord Vikings. But you're not. You're a loser. Just like that Nazi is a loser. You are the exact same kind of loser. Instead of looking for some esoteric, mythical Nordic rune that you want to identify with, you have identified with being an American pig, being a capitalist warmonger. You don't even have like any kind of mythology associated with it. It is just indiscriminate bombing campaigns done for ExxonMobil, done for wealthy, powerful individuals that will consistently you. They will over and over again. You have no identity, so you're grabbing on to what remains of America's industry, the military-industrial complex, and all of its output. That is so sad. Fix your...
That's the only thing America does is the military-industrial complex. That's the only thing America contributes to the world now.
Life chatter. Jesus Christ, dude. It's wild. Absolutely wild to be writing this hard for American corporations and American imperialism. It doesn't even come back to help you, you idiot. We have no cohesive national identity even. We are literally a patchwork of different corporations. It's like a bunch of corporate towns put together. The only glue that holds Americans together is this like weird American identity of dominating other countries that are way poorer than we are. It's so sad. And every single time we institute our might, we go overseas and we blow their fucking bases up and, we blow their weapon supplies and we're like, yeah, those guys are the bad guys. You think we're doing something good, but like when we steal their natural resources at the end of the day, you don't even get a crumb of that. Like what good is this entire imperial project if you can't even get healthcare? I love the notion of being like, dog, I hate the Houthis because they have child brides, which is why I want to fucking kill all the child brides with American bombs. Yeah, you know what fixes the child bride situation in Yemen? A Tomahawk missile that taxpayers paid for instead of paying for your dumbass diabetes medication, you stupid Here's the difference, by the way. No matter where that
what the f is he saying? Like, just let them their child brides in peace. What the f Jesus Christ. He's just retarded. I don't even know what to...
Sup, you beautiful bastards. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show. We got a lot of news to talk about today. We've got the Hasan Piker Tim Houthi Chalamet scandal, with people saying he's platforming a terrorist. We've got this bizarre baby-making scam. What just got exposed with these assisted living facilities will shock you. There's even more. And then in social media news connected to real-world news, there are people fighting about a question. Is Hasan Piker platforming terrorism? That's what a chunk of the internet is fighting about right now, and it's all because of a person that the internet has dubbed Tim Houthi Chalamet. Right? We've talked in greater detail about the Houthis and TikToks, even in yesterday's show and others. But the oversimplified TLDR, in case this is the first video that you stumbled upon where I'm talking about it, is that they're a Yemeni rebel group. They recently attacked ships in the Red Sea in response to Israel's attacks on Gaza. And very notably, that has included U.S. vessels. So actually, as of this morning, Biden has redesignated the Houthis as terrorists, which is very big because he previously removed them from
Which is very big because that means that Hasan technically violated TOS if he brought on that Houthi after Biden's designation. I don't know when this video is released. Oh, never mind. Hasan's safe.
that list. But this, as the Houthi leaders have defended their actions, saying they're doing what they're doing to support the Palestinian people and to pressure Israel and its allies to end the war. And so all of that bringing us to Tim Houthi, who you might actually recognize from his viral videos like this one, with one person sharing it on Twitter with a caption, Yemeni pirates posting casual TikToks while the entire Western Imperial Corps having a meltdown about their blockade on their ships is the funniest shit of 2024, surely. New Advice actually doing a piece on, identifying him as Rashid al-Haddad, noting that in that clip, he's on the Galaxy Leader, which is a cargo ship seized last year by the Houthis. But they also said that there's no clear evidence that he was actually part of the raid that captured the ship, but he did post photos of him in gear and carrying weapons, so people online have called him a pirate. And yesterday, political commentator Hasan Piker actually interviewed him on his stream, saying in a later post, I interviewed the Yemeni, quote, pirate yesterday, and all he cares about is freeing Palestine.
What a retard. Does he realize how stupid he is? I can't tell. I interviewed a plantation owner in the South yesterday, and all he cares about are states' rights. Like, what a retarded fucking... This is like evil. This is actual evil shit, right? Like, Hasan is a slightly more popular version of Jackson Hinkle. Like, it's so gross.
Turns out he's not part of any militancy, according to him, and is 19. Spent most of his life being bombed, says he welcomes all who defend Palestine no matter their background. And right off the bat, with the way that Hasan started the interview, you had people accusing him of trying to baby girlify a terrorist. Because Hasan asks him if he's seen the anime One Piece, and then actually comparing the Houthis to the show's main character.
We think the Houthis, Ansar Allah, is doing what Luffy would do.
Hasan also asking if he's part of a militancy or just a TikToker, which he said through his interpreter.
His answer is a Yemeni who stands with Palestine.
Hasan then asking him what compelled him to actually go on the ships, as well as other questions about news coverage about the situation and motivations behind it.
Says he likes adventures and he is a big supporter of Palestine. Just reiterating that the cause is to cause disruption to the shipments that Americans have interest in until they stop bombing Gaza, and that if they weren't affected by it, then they wouldn't retaliate on Yemen.
And in this, there are also other bits unrelated to the conflict, or things like what is life like in Yemen, what other TV shows that he watches, stuff like that. And so with all this, depending on where you went online, you had people having drastically different reactions. There was a lot of backlash, people saying Hasan was platforming a terrorist, people honing in on that whole One Piece comparison, saying that's brain rot. It's actually one of the most viral reactions to that being from political commentator Destiny.
Dude,
I don't know if I'm gonna listen to myself.
we think the Houthis, Ansar Allah, is doing what Luffy would do. You should tell him that.
God, he's so f***ing cringe. He's like such a cringe f***ing loser. I would pay we'd raise $1 million to send this dude to go fight in Yemen, and then all of us would volunteer for the Navy. Holy shit, he's such a cringe, LARPing loser. I cannot believe, like, nobody in the history, no fascist ever could have dreamed of such an amazing representation of socialism as the most anti-American, like pro-Islamic terrorist, Turkish immigrant loser that is like cheering on attacks on merchant ships as this multi-millionaire guy living in West Hollywood.
Well, on the other side of this, you had people defending Hasan, saying that Hasan is actually doing the public an enormous service by speaking to a regular Yemeni guy with regular hopes, dreams, and hobbies, and asking where were you for the past 10 years when the Yemeni people lost lives and limbs just for the crime of existing. And others saying that the interview is actually amazing, with Hasan humanizing him and wanting us to understand that he is just a normal Yemeni teen. But with all that said...
But the IDF are barbaric, monstrous racists, by the way.
Pass the question off to you. Where do you land on this? I know there's two camps. I don't know if there's a third where you're landing somewhere in between. But what do you think about the platforming and interview? What do you think about the reactions? What do you think about any and all of it, and why?
Philip changed the title. It used to be Is Hasan Platforming Terrorist? Then Hasan ranted about it. Oh, I wonder if Hasan... Actually, he brought this video up on stream. I wonder if he thumbs down or got it. Because I've seen him get his audience to thumbs down negative comments on videos. I think he did it with that Complex video, I think, right?